Okay, great. So hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Food Factory for Us International Student Competition on increasing innovation in existing short food supply chains to make them stronger and more competitive. A very long title. My name is Christoph Knöbel. I'm a project assistant at the ISEKI-Food Association. And together with my colleagues, Catherine Flynn, you already heard her and see her, and Foutini Chrysantopoulou. Unfortunately, she was not able to join us today, but I guess she will be. You will see her in one of the other trainings. We will guide you through this competition. And before we start, I will just briefly go over the logos you can see on the screen right now. So on the top left, we have the ISEKI-Food Association logo. That's us. We are the organizers of this competition. On the top right, we have the Food Factory for Us logo, the logo of the competition you are participating in right now. On the bottom left, we have the Fairchain logo. So this is the project that is sponsoring the competition. And on the bottom right, we have the EU logo, because Fairchain is a European project, and that's where the money's at, basically. Okay. Now it moves. Perfect. So as we are in a competition, there are some ground rules that we want to cover first. So if it's possible for you, we would ask you to join from a computer or a laptop, because that makes it easier for you to participate in the exercises we do have during our online trainings. Avoid any background noises. So please keep yourself muted all the time if you're not talking, so we don't have any interruptions while anybody else is talking. And keep your camera on. I already asked you that, because it is nice to see what everybody else is looking like, and it makes a bit more a interactive environment and not talking to a black screen. And if you have, or if you can, use a headset so everybody can hear you better, which I'm a prime example of how not to do it, because I'm not using one. So if you don't have a headset, at least try or check that your microphone, your inbuilt microphone, or the microphone of your camera is working properly, so we can understand you. And I know there is a lot of distractions around, emails popping up, friends or family writing on you, sending you messages, you check your emails, there are other assignments you have to do, but at least for the time we're here in this online training session, try to stay focused and participate. We did set the time for roughly 2 hours, but from previous experience, I guess we will be done in about 1.5 hours. And I think that is a time frame that we can all stay focused and be here in the moment. Right. So with us today, we have 5 teams, 5 international teams, and around about 16 people. Like we even lost one person. So we have around 11 students right now. So in total, there should be 16. And you can see here that we have a team from Spain, from Vietnam, 2 from the Philippines, and 1 from Thailand. And on the right side, you should see right now the advisory board. They will, at the end, decide the winning team. And the advisory board is based on Europe, because, as I said at the beginning, the Fairchain project and ISEKI is based in Europe as well. But we do have people from academia, from food industry, as well as from non-profit organizations. So there is not only a diversity in the teams that participate in our competition, but also a diversity in the advisory board that will decide the winning team. So this is a brief overview of what we are going to do today. So we will take approximately next half an hour, and go over the history and the aim of the competition. After that, we will have 25 minutes of group work. So this will be the first group exercise that we're doing. And for that, we will separate you into different breakout rooms. They will be kind of randomly. We try to have at least one person of each team in the different breakout rooms. So this should also give you a a possibility to get to know your fellow competitors. After that, we will come back and go a bit about the administrative stuff, some of the assignments you have to do, the requirements for your teams, and also how your project be evaluated. And that at the end, before we finish, before we leave, then we will open the floor to you. If you have any questions or comments, then you can ask us then. So in a brief history, the Food Factory Frost competition began in 2017 because our colleague, Paula Pitja from the University of Teramo had this idea in 2017 to start an international student competition that focused on solving a real-life problem that was present in the food industry. And you can see some of the earlier topics or the previous competitions on the screen right now. We had one on shelf life, food, energy, and water loss. And as you know, this competition, or the topic of this competition, is increasing innovation in I said it before and now I forgot it. Increasing innovation in short food supply chains. Yes, Catherine is nodding perfect. And so it is very important that your project specifies a problem that is related to this topic and then presents a solution to that problem. And during the online trainings, during the competition, we will have 5 online trainings, this one being the first one. And at the end, at the final virtual conference, that on the 1st of June, every team, all of the teams will then present their project, and the winning team will be announced. And the winning team, as I just said before, will be decided by the advisory board. All your points and their scores will be put together, will be averaged, and on that basis, the winning team will be decided. But we are going to go over, or we will be going over this a bit later after the group exercise. So we will talk about the points and how you get your points. I think I forgot. Yeah, that's just also for the project that is sponsoring the competition right now. And with that brief and probably a bit too fast introduction, I leave the floor to Catherine, to my colleague Catherine, and she will tell you more about the 5 core competences. And I will stop sharing.
Okay, so hi everyone, and welcome to this competition. Like Christoph said, it began in 2017, but since 2019, the competition really evolved, and it is based on this action learning model. And you see in the gray circle, the 5 important competences that action learning teaches, and those are observation, reflection, dialogue, participation, and visioning. And they're so important that I put a red star next to each one of them, because we're really going to focus on working on these competences throughout the 5 or 6 weeks of this competition. And you also can notice in this gray circle that these 5 competences, they're important for you, the students, but they're also important for us, the teachers or advisors, and also for stakeholders, people who are actually out there and involved in short food supply chains. And we'll try and get these people also involved in our competition, and you'll see that later today, in fact. And so this action learning model tries to bring the academic world on the left side to touch with what complex reality is on the right side. It brings university and society together. And we expect that your projects will do that, that you'll use what you know from academia to solve a complex and real problem in short food supply chains. Well, this action learning model, let's see, can I advance somehow? Maybe here. Yeah, this action learning model didn't come from nothing. It was made through research and development and innovation of the current teaching model. And this research part has a red star because I want to be sure that you know that you are part of our research project. Okay, so don't get scared. We're not going to take your blood or make you do any crazy, behavioral experiments. But Christoph and Fotini and I want to collect data about you because this helps us to become better teachers and advisors, and we improve this competition based on what you say and how you learn during this 5-week competition. So it starts today. You'll have a link today to fill out a self-evaluation. It takes about 10 minutes, a couple of easy questions like rank yourself with a number, and a couple of hard questions like what do you think about something. So we really want you to do this for our research project and also because it counts towards your final grade. So we moved away from this. The teacher talks, blah, 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 and gives knowledge to the student or the farmer. And we moved to this new action learning where we all talk to each other and we try and bring university and the world together. And this is on the left, some of the key points about action learning. We want you to participate, and you'll do it already today, and not only with us, more importantly, with each other. And we want to know about you. We're going to ask you to tell us what you already know. And we want you to learn to work together. We're going to put you in groups and ask you to do things with groups that are not your team, so people that you don't know. And if you're interested in the project that developed this, you have the link on the bottom left, and you can check out their website. So let's talk about these 5 competences briefly, and we'll practice one of them right now. So dialogue is one of the competences. And I include discussion and debate because dialogue is not a discussion and dialogue is not a debate. In a dialogue, instead, we get a deep understanding. We don't just talk like in a discussion. And we build on what other people know. We don't have a debate where I try and convince you that I'm right. That's not a dialogue. And we try to be welcoming to different issues. So dialogue is about interacting with people, but it's also very internal. Dialogue is also about looking at ourselves. Gee, why do I get angry, when he says that? Noticing how we think. Oh, I always think about how it is in my country. How about other places? So dialogue is about interacting with other people in an open way, and it's also about looking at our own thoughts. Another competence, one of my favorites, is reflection. Reflection is really about looking at ourselves. We examine ourselves. We try and get insight into what we just learned and how we can use it to move forward. And we think about our own growth. Where am I as a scientist? And we try and link our experiences to our own development. And I love reflection because the world is very fast today. Right? Like Christoph said, the phone is making noise, people over there. I have another meeting right after this one. And in reflection, we actually set the timer for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes, and we have silence. Yeah, silence is kind of scary, right? We have silence and we think about something. We think about what we just learned, or what we just heard, or what we just did. And that's something that's rare, and we found it to be really beneficial. So we're going to ask you to do a reflection document, not after every one of these sessions, but after several of them. And you'll find the links to these reflection documents on our website. And we ask you questions like this. What exactly did I see? What happened in this online session? What did I experience? And we ask you to write a few words. Take those 5 minutes after the session to think about what you just did. So hope you're going to like doing reflection. And in fact, some of our past students, and also some of our past advisory board and teachers have started keeping a reflection log. They get a little notebook, and they find after not only our competition online sessions, but after lessons in university or after meetings with fellow students, that they take the time, 5 minutes, to think about what happened and write a few notes about it. And this is the competence that we're going to try out today. It's observation. Observation is about really carefully looking at what's out there before you make a judgment. So observation means you're unbiased. You like a mirror. You're just looking at what's out there and saying what you see. So let's try it and see if we can do some observation. Here's this painting. Oh, and we looked up a while ago who this painting was, and I forgot. Looks like Monet to me, but I'm no art expert. But anyway, here's this painting, and I also forgot that I'm not going to say the title. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it because it maybe influences what you see. So now we're going to have our first experience with 2 minutes of silence. And Christoph, are you going to time 2 minutes? Christoph is going to time 2 minutes. And I want you to just look at the picture and prepare to talk and tell everybody what you see in this picture. So I'll just let you know that the first time you experience these minutes of silence, that 2 minutes can seem very long, and it can start to be easy to think about other things, but really try. It's only 2 minutes to look at the picture and say, what are the things that you see? Let's start it, Christoph.
2 minutes starts now.
Thanks.
And that's 2 minutes.
So we'll make it easy since it's our first time observing, and we'll leave the picture up there. And let's go around, unless anybody wants to volunteer. Let's time 4 minutes. And I'll ask first if there's a volunteer. Will you tell us something that you see in the picture? You can just turn on your microphone. No volunteers? Okay, well then we'll go around based on how I see people on my screen. So Deborah, you're the first one. Tell us what you see in the picture. You're mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone.
Good. Hi.
In the image, I can observe that there is a man looking a woman, and she has near from her some flowers. And there is also a woman with an umbrella, and it seems that there is a garden. That's all.
Okay, good. Good start. Let's go to the next person on my screen is Hina. Hina, can you tell us something that you see?
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I think, like, for me, the man is like a little bit confused looking over the women, and they have flower, but the women still feel a little bit sad. I don't know, like it's my observation that the woman is a little bit sad, and the man looking at her is kind of confused. And even though they are together, like, it doesn't seem they're having a good time. So yeah, that's my observation.
So that's great. So let's hear one more before let's hear a couple more before I say
Okay.
anything. Next person that I see on my screen is Poke. Poke or Poke?
Hi everyone. My name is Paul.
Polk, okay.
Yes. From what I see in the picture, I think the dress, according to the top hat that the gentleman was wearing, it could be early Victorian era fashion. The thing that I see most is the chicken coop skirt that the women are sitting wearing. It has a little thicker on the back, which is very unique to the Victorian era fashion. And yes, they might be carrying a date or a picnic. From what I can see so far, but mostly I assume it was some kind of a Victorian era fashion inspired.
Great, thank you, Polk. And next I see Vanessa.
Hello, everyone. I'm seeing a woman with an umbrella who's looking with a man who seems to be on a date with the other girl, but the other girl seems to be a little bit confused. So that's what I have been observing. Thank you.
Thanks. And I think we can get one more, right, Christoph? How's our time? My next person is Antonio.
Yeah, we have enough time. Still
Okay. Antonio, what do you see?
Hi everyone. Yes, I think it would be a date from the woman sit on the bench and the man, an elegant man. So both are elegant, and but it will be at the same time a moment of respite from daily life. I think they are in a park, so we can see not only the flower, the bouquet of flower of the woman sit on the bench, but also the flowers on the behind, and so also in the behind there is another woman, an elegant woman with an umbrella. So yes, I think they are in a park.
Okay, let's get one more. My next person is Carmi.
So, hi everyone. What I observe is that there's a girl sitting in a bench in a garden with some other girl in the back, and there's a man behind the girl in the bench. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, good. So we really heard the extreme of Carmi and Deborah in the beginning, who were very simple. What I see is a woman on a bench in a gray dress and white gloves, and a man standing beside her. And I think Polk said something very interesting, and they're dressed in a certain fashion. And all of that is observation. But when I start saying, and the woman looks unhappy, and the man is confused, and they're in a public park, now I'm interpreting. And that's very different, because, maybe they're not in a public park. Maybe they're in the garden of this house. Maybe this is some big fancy house with a giant garden. And maybe the woman is not confused. Maybe she's angry. Maybe they just had an argument. We don't know. So this is a nice example, and all of you were great because we really heard observation, sometimes pure observation, and sometimes observation mixed with interpretation. Okay, so it's good to do interpretation, and especially I think it was Polk was really important and sometimes hard to draw the line, because his interpretation was, hard to say it's not correct, and that was about the style of dress. This style of dress is known to be the Victorian period. Also, I might say there are flowers, so it's summer. Now I don't know if it's summer, right? But I do know there are flowers. But flowers, so it's summer, I start to cross the line of observation and interpretation. Like Polk, they're dressed in a certain way, so it's the Victorian era. Maybe they're on a stage and it's a play, that takes place in the Victorian era, you know. So we have to be careful of what is observation and what is interpretation. And it's fine to do both, but it's nice to know the difference. Now I'm observing, now I'm interpreting. And let's see, can I move forward? Yeah. Okay, so another one of our competences is participation. And this you just all did in a very nice way. You are thoughtful, you try to really contribute, you're committed, you get involved in the situation. You're not sitting in the last row, you know, in the background, looking at your phone while something is going on. So we really aim to have you participate. And our final competence is visioning, and we'll do an exercise on this later in the competition. And visioning is a nice one. Students usually like it a lot, and it's about imagining what you want the future to be. And then we use our imagination and our insight to consider how we can get to that future. And I'll tell you something very interesting about visioning. I read that visioning is very common in elite athletes. So before a big gymnastics competition, for example, the gymnast will imagine himself or herself doing their routine perfectly. You know, imagine every step of it. Vision success. So we're going to try and take that athletic exercise and bring it into our scientific and academic lives. So now we go to our first breakout group. It's still me, Christoph, to tell them about this?
Yeah, I can share the screen as well if you want.
No, I mean, I'll tell them the story, right, about this. Okay.
But I
So-
can prepare the breakout groups in the background.
Yeah, that's a good
Thank you.
idea. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to put you in groups with mostly people that you don't know. We're going to try and separate the team members, and you'll be in your group for 25 minutes, and we'll give you a timer, you'll know. And what we want you to talk about, you know, you say hello to each other, you introduce yourself, you maybe say what your favorite food is, you know, something about yourself. And then we want you to talk about short food supply chains. And we want you to tell each other what you know. What are there short food supply chains in your area, in your school, in your hometown or city? And we also encourage you to look on Google, you know, and look up short food supply chains relating to what you already know about them. And this is the aim of the 25-minute discussion. It's for your group to agree on one example of a short food supply chain that one of you knows or that you found on Google, something that you think is really a good example of a successful short food supply chain. And this should be something you want to learn more about, because we're going to collect these examples from you. And Christoph and Fotini and I are going to contact the people, and we're going to invite them to give a presentation in one of our meetings. Okay, so what we want is for you to tell us your favorite short food supply chain and the person that you want to come and talk to you about this short food supply chain. And you should choose one person in your group who will be the rapporteur. And that's the person who will have 1 minute to tell the rest of us what your group talked about during these 25 minutes. Okay, so you decide on your one person, and you talk amongst yourselves to pick a favorite example, and you search on Google for short food supply chains. And after 25 minutes, each group will have 1 minute to tell the rest of us what they talked about. And now we want to know, like I said, we want to know who your favorite short food supply chain is. And you might not decide in these 25 minutes. We hope you do, but you might not. Your group might say, well, I'm not sure. We better talk about it some more. So maybe the first thing you should do in your group is exchange emails or WhatsApp numbers or something, so you can stay in contact. Because you'll have the weekend, if you need it, you can have until Monday to tell us who your favorite short food supply chain is. Okay, and for each group, this is something that counts towards your points toward winning the competition. And it doesn't matter, what you tell us. What matters is that you do it, right? So for each group, the whole group gets the points as long as you give us the name of a short food supply chain and a person to contact. So for my example, I would just say, if I was in the group, I would say, you can see I live in the countryside in France, and there's a local farm cooperative that I'm a part of, and that's my favorite short food supply chain. And if I was in the group, I would tell you about it, how it works, and I would look up the name of the person who's in charge and get their email, and then I have my answer for this group work. Okay? Any questions about what the 25 minutes is going to be like? Everybody ready? Okay.
Before we start, Catherine, just a second. To make it easier for you, so you know even in 20 minutes what you have to do, maybe either just quickly screenshot the
Good
screen
idea.
right now, what Catherine has is showing,
Yeah.
or I also uploaded the presentation to our homepage, which I will put the link in the chat right now. So you can find the presentation there as well already, and there you can also then have the slide during your during the breakout group, so that you know exactly what you have to do.
Right. And Christoph and I do not come in your breakout group, so you can talk
Exactly.
about us.
So I did create 3 breakout groups. I tried to, you won't be with anybody of your own team. So you will be with different members of other teams. And I created 3 teams. So we have 4 people, 4 persons per team, per group. Makes it a bit easier, I think.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's really good.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I double check everything. If you have any questions, you can come back to the main room to us, ask us, and then go back to your breakout room, of course. And we will see you again in 25 minutes.
Have fun.
Great. So everybody should be back by now. And of course, now I have to check the breakout rooms to know who it was in which group. I think we will start right with the first room to present their example. And that was Antonio, Poke, Vivian, or Zia. One of room 1, please. And I will time your 1 minute.
Okay. Greeting everyone. My name is Paul. I am the representative from Group 1. The product that we were interested in, originally we were talking about the food marketing in Europe, and our friend from Europe, Antonio, suggests that one of the most recent food shortage is most likely about fruit and vegetable. So I suggest that we could look into short food supply chain that is Chinese pickle, which is xiaoxi. It is invented or bring to American by one of the famous YouTuber, Vivian Anderson. The way that we preserve food in a pickle ensure that we have a long shelf life food, and we could look into it to see if there is a food supply chain or someone or company that doing that. So it is still a work in progress, but at least we have a topic and where to go on from that part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was perfectly 1 minute. You had, I think, 3 seconds to spare. Okay, thank you. So we will move on to room 2. That will be either Carmi, Deborah, Hina, or Vanessa, please. Somebody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can I share my screen?
If you want to, sure.
Can you see the presentation?
We can. I will start doing it.
So short food supply chains involve by definition a limited number of operators committed to cooperation, local economic development, and close geographical and social relations between food processors and consumers. So one example is from Italy, since in Parma and the rest of Italy, short supply chains always exist at a small scale and through family networks. So one example is the initiative like Mercatiamo, that was born from the dream of a group of people to create a familiar place with the needs of producers and consumers. So it's a local market where you can buy safe products, free from the commercial policies of large scale, and it's based on it's based on sustainable local economy, zero waste strategy, reduction of packaging, use of second choice products, promote food education, respect for the environment and social responsibility, also through educational and demonstration activities. And there are some actors involved in this cooperation, this project, Mercatiamo. So we have to decide the contact, but there are a lot of actors involved in this project.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Also, very nice presentation, but I have to say a bit too long. I let you speak. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds, roughly roundabout. So during the final conference, we will be a bit more strict on that one.
Okay.
But great presentation, and I didn't want to cut you
Thank
off.
you.
So. And we will move to the last room, of which only 2 people are remaining here right now. So that's either Michael or Rain. Rainberto, that's the full name. Sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So our group really focused on the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact to global food chain. So which leads to disruption in transportation, labor shortages, and it decreased the demand for certain products. So one example that Camille gave was the farmers around the Philippines and southern Leyte, where they just, instead of going to the market, the consumers would just go directly to the farmers itself. One example given by Rain also was using application, where you use application for the consumers and the producers to just interact directly without the without the middleman. And here in Thailand, which is focused mainly on having like what you call this, it's like a store, like a mini store, it's like a cooperative where all the different farmers would put their products and people would buy there instead of going to the big supermarkets. And that way there's less increase in price, and these support each other, and it's not as far from each other. Thank you.
That was exactly on the mark. Thank you very much for all your presentations. I will share my screen again. So perfect, because now we will move on to the last part of today's session, and this will be more about the administrative stuff. Like I said in the beginning, some of the assignments you have to do, the evaluations, how your project will be evaluated, and how we will in the end choose the winning team. And some of you might have already seen this information. We have it also on our homepage. I will afterwards put the link again in the chat so you can find it as well. You also have, of course, the presentation. And basically, your project will be evaluated on these 3 columns. I just call them columns. So the first one, you have the quality of the project. And that is, as you see, 44.4% of the final score. And this first column includes that your project is matching to the competition aim. So it has to, as I said at the beginning, the specific address the specific problem of the related to the topic. Oh, we have somebody here coming back. And this will be on one hand based on the written report that you will have to hand in. Catherine will be telling you more about that in a minute. But also on parts on the PowerPoint slides that you will present, also on the one hand in, but also present during your during the final conference, during your presentation. The second point is the innovation and application to industry. Again, this is all related to our topic of the competition and how your project relates to that, and the impact it has on social, economic, and the environmental impact. Again, here, all those 3 points are in your written report, but also on the slides for the final presentation. But then we also have the fourth part is the participation. So basically, how engaged you are, how many of the assignments you complete, the points you collect through that. And the first one, as Catherine already mentioned, and she will, I guess we have it in the slides afterwards as well, is the learner evaluation begin, because it is very important. We also do research on you, so we need you to fill that in. And so we have the data for that. You will get points for it. And I can already also say that at the end of the competition, you will only get the certificate for participating if everybody finished the learner evaluations. That is something to keep in mind. And of course, the attendance at the online trainings, you get a point per member that attends, and completed assignments. Again, like the more you do, the more points you will earn throughout the competition. The second column is the presentation at the final conference, and that's roughly 1/3 of your final score. And here we have the first point is the first category is the overall quality and clarity of your PowerPoint slides. Again, based on part on what you hand in, but of course also you can of course change them before or for the final virtual conference, because if I remember correctly right now, Catherine will tell you about that later as well, you have to hand in your report and the slides by the 23rd of March. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we will see it afterwards. Yes.
May, not March, May.
May, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. In May, so that's roughly a week before the final conference, your written report and your presentation has to be sent in. But of course, in this week, if you update your presentation, please do so. We don't want to hinder that or to restrict you to have the presentation ready a week before the conference, because at least my part, I know that I even changed the presentation 5 minutes before I give the presentation. And the other 2 points are the clarity and overall quality of your oral presentation. And this includes the elevator pitch. We will go over that. We have a separate training session dedicated to the elevator pitch. And so you will start your presentation during the final conference with the elevator pitch, roughly 1 minute, kind of what we did just now. So that's also why I said before, like we will enforce, maybe a very strong word for that, but we will tell you that you only have a minute and we will interrupt you if you go over it. So this should be really, you should be tight and you will be scored on that. And if I remember, at least 2 people per team should participate during this presentation. So it's not that just one person of your team does the final presentation at the final virtual conference, but at least 2 people of your team should be part of this presentation. And then also after your presentation, you have a few minutes to answer to the questions that may be. And there's also like every team member should be there and answer the questions. And then we have the third leg, or the third column, is the written report, and that's only 22% of your final score. And here again, it's the strategy and development of the solution. Again, like this is related to the topic of our competition, to the problem, describing the problem, and also your solution to it. And then, of course, the overall quality and clarity of your written report. And that, again, is due on the 23rd of May, not March, May. Did I forget anything, Catherine, or perfect?
No, I think you're good. Mhm.
I think I'm good. Perfect.
Mhm.
And I will stop sharing again, and Catherine will tell you about
Yeah.
the assignments you have to do.
Okay.
And I think we had somebody joining us right now. I think from the Vietnamese team. Tran, you there? Okay, at least he joined. Unfortunately, a bit later.
Okay, maybe there was a confusion with the time
Yeah,
zone.
maybe.
Okay. So you all have copies of these slides, and you also can see this on our webpage, so you can go back and check several times as you're preparing your final materials to make sure, that you do everything that the advisory board has asked. Because what you see here is actually exactly what the advisory board sees when they give you points. So they'll look, match to the competition aim, and give your team between 0 and 5. Innovation and application to industry, and they give your team between 0 and 5. So each one of these points, you should be sure, that you address them, because it's exactly how your grade or how the winning team is determined. So some of the things you have to do for your participation score that are coming up right away is first to finalize the breakout groups from today. So if each breakout group from today, not each team, should send us by the end of the day on Monday, the topic and a contact person. And the group that was closest to that was Deborah's group, because they had the name of a place, Mercatiamo, and they had the website of it. We'd like a little more. We'd love to have a person and an email, but even a website is okay. And that's an example of a successful short food supply chain. You see here, right? A successful short food supply chain and a contact person. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. So please send that to us, an email, by the end of the day on Monday. Okay, and every group should do that, every breakout group, and then all the people in the breakout group get a point towards the participation grade. Okay, so like it says here, it can be a study, an event, a paper, it can be a website, okay, by the end of the day on Monday. And then another assignment that you have that is easy and due soon, it's by the end of the day on Tuesday, to complete this learner evaluation begin. And this is on the website. It's in this gray navigation box, and I think I can just go there quickly and make sure that you all know where it is. So if you go to our website, and let me go to this is the gray navigation box, and in there is a tab called Learner Evaluations, and that's what you see here. And this is what you need to do, learner evaluation begin. And you click on there and you fill it out. It takes about 10 minutes. And like I said, some questions are easy. Just give yourself a number. How good are you or not good at something? And some are a little longer. We ask you to think for a couple of minutes and say what you expect from this competition and some questions like that. And each person, not each team, each person should complete this survey. And this counts towards your team's evaluation. Completion counts, your answers do not count. So just do your most honest work, please. It's for our research project. Christoph and I are counting on you. And then, oh yeah, there it is. We're counting on you, it's crucial. And then your next assignment coming up is for next week's meeting. So next week's meeting is on Thursday. It's Thursday, April 27th. And at next week's meeting, the microphone and the camera will be more on you than it will be on me and Christoph. And we're asking each team to give a maximum 5-minute presentation. So you can decide if one member of your team talks for 5 minutes, or if you do like Christoph and I, and you share the talking. And you can share it so that every member of your team talks for 1.5 minutes or 1 minute. It's maximum 5 minutes. It could be 3 or 4 minutes. And it should be about a practical experience. So something that you did related to a successful short food supply chain. So maybe you had an internship, maybe you visited, maybe you were a volunteer. Maybe you're like me and you're a member of a food cooperative, and you can tell us about this successful short food supply chain. 5 minutes maximum, and this is going to happen next week. You don't have to send us anything in advance, but when we meet next week, we're going to say, okay, which team wants to go first? Okay, so you should be ready with your presentation for next week. And again, like your other assignments, you're not judged on the quality. So no stress, we just want to learn about you. You're only judged on if you did it. If you did it, you get points. If you didn't do it, you don't get points. And you can find our instructions by following this tab. And again, it brings you to our website. And here it's in online trainings in the gray box. And in online trainings, under Introduction to the Competition, you have the presentation from today. And under next week's training on student presentations, you have the guidelines. And you can go here and see the guidelines. Now it's a little slow, but there they are. Okay, instructions for the student presentation. Okay, so you can go and look at it, and we tell you exactly what we'd like, and you can tell you exactly how to do it. Okay, so that's what's happening in next week's session. And your fourth assignment is one that's coming up in the future. We're not ready yet, but one of our sessions will be a private session. Christoph and I and Fotini will meet individually with your team so that you can practice your presentation for the final conference. And we'll give you a doodle, soon to be available doodle, where we ask you to pick a time. We say here 15 to 30 minutes, you pick a 30-minute slot, and you come to this project review with a draft, some slides and some things, maybe some questions for us. And you see that this is 2 weeks before the final conference. Okay, so we'll ask you to pick your slot, but that's not yet. We'll tell you next week about that. And I think that that's the end of the assignments. We don't ask too much of you. We know you're all busy. And I just remind you here of what's coming up. So today we did our introductory session. Our next session is the student presentation, where you will all be prepared, each project team, with a 5-minute presentation, and that's next week. And the week after that is the virtual visit, and this is where Christoph and Fotini and I will invite someone from your breakout group discussions today to come and talk to us about a successful short food supply chain. And then the week after that, or 2 weeks after, it looks like, is our project review, where each team will pick their slot. And then our final meeting is about soft skills. And like Christoph said, we'll really practice our 1-minute elevator pitch at this meeting. And then after that, on June 1st, is the final conference. The final conference. All the teams are there and they present their project, and it's open to the public. And we've had as few as maybe 20 or 25 attendees, and we've had as many as 100 people there. So, you want to be ready. It's a real presentation, a real competition. People from industry, from associations, professors are all there who might ask you questions. after your presentation, and the advisory board members are there filling out the form on the quality of your presentation. So you make your presentation, and I don't see it here. I think you have 10 minutes. I'll double check that. And we do have a guideline sheet for you about your presentation, which will be on the website in a week or so. And the winning team is chosen and announced at the final conference. And the winning team gets some fabulous prizes, 300 euros, cash money, sponsored by the ISEKI-Food Association. And you also get invited to come to the food hack, which will be in September in Sweden. And we'll pay for you to travel, and we'll pay your accommodation, and we'll pay some of your meals. But there's a catch, like Christoph said, it's a European project. So we can only pay for you to travel within Europe. So if a team from outside of Europe wins, you have to get yourself to Europe, anywhere in Europe, and then we'll pay for you. So we had a team from the US win once, and I think they got themselves to Ireland, the closest place. And we had a team from Pakistan win, and they tried to get themselves to Turkey, So any place in Europe, and then we can bring you to Sweden. So you might already want to think about that, if you're not a European team, and if you win, can your school pay to get you to Europe? How do you need a visa? You might want to think about that already. The winning team also gets a certificate that they're the winners, and this is very nice on your curriculum. And every team that finishes the competition gets a certificate that they have completed the competition, and this is also very nice on your curriculum. And the very first point I didn't mention yet on here, and that is the deadline of May 23rd. And that's when we want to have your project presentation, that is your PowerPoint slides, and your report. And we will give you guidelines for both of these. And I'll let you know now that the report is short. It's only 4 pages, and 4 pages including everything, any references, any graphics. So we're not asking you to write a book. In fact, we like you to be very concise. And like Christoph said about your presentation, you hand it in to us, but then you are welcome to update it in this week before May 23rd, between May 23rd and June 1st. Okay, so this is what happens at the very end, and we all get the outcome of the 5 weeks of this competition. And with that, I will stop and open it up to the floor, and you can ask any question you like. And I remind you that there are no stupid questions.
Should we stop recording before?
Oh yeah, let's stop recording before the questions.
Then I will stop the recording right now.